I'm Julie Zenner along with Dennis Anderson, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
Well, we're going to talk tonight with the new president of the United Way of Greater Duluth as they kick off their annual community fundraising campaign this week.
The Duluth Superior Symphony Orchestra is about to begin its new season with a mix of classics, pops, opera, and more.
And the Center Against Sexual and Domestic Abuse in Superior is gearing up for its annual walk-run to end abuse.
These topics and more coming up next on the Season 23 premiere of Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. Danny, tonight's show marks the beginning of the 23rd season of Almanac North, and that's a pretty nice milestone.
And I consider myself very fortunate. I'm starting my 4th year with the program, so I'm very fortunate.
4 years of Picayune conversation with Dennis Anderson.
I guess so.
Good show, so let's get started.
All right, thank you very much, Julie. Welcome, everyone. The United Way's annual chili cook-off at the Deck Thursday night marks the official beginning of their annual community fundraising campaign. Money raised during the campaign is distributed to a number of local nonprofit agencies. Now, those funds help support many educational and human services for the greater Duluth community. And joining us now is Matthew Hunter, the new president of the United Way of Greater Duluth. Matt, you've come a very important time. You're just coming into the community, but a very important time for the United Way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Last night's chili kickoff really starting our big fundraising season for the United Way.
How did it go last night?
Excellent. And it was amazing. I stepped in about a month ago, and I really didn't have much to do except be there to be interviewed and eat a lot of chili. They had done so much work before I even got there that it ran so smoothly, and it looked like it ran so smoothly and effortlessly, but it took a lot of work.
A lot of people might not know much about you, but give a little bit of background on where you're from and what made you want to come to Duluth.
Sure. I'm from the great state of Oklahoma, and my background primarily is in nonprofit management. And I've directed a homeless shelter for 3 years before I got here, and I was at a conflict resolution group in the Twin Cities called Friends for Nonviolent World. And then I moved into a workplace giving federation called Community Shares in the Twin Cities. I was there for 5 years, so that experience has really helped me step in here at the United Way and know what I'm talking about, and I have a framework of what to hang some knowledge on, so it's been great.
As you look at the Duluth business community, do you see a pretty high level of participation in the United Way, or is there a lot of work for you to do in persuading people to come along?
I think it's a mixed story. There is a lot of participation on certain levels, but indicators are we can do a lot better and really increase that campaign in the coming years. So I'm excited to get started.
Matt, would you tell us about the United Way's campaign this year and what your goals are?
We'd like to get up close to $2 million this year. Last year we raised $1.93 million, and that was a decrease. We were disappointed with that performance. So we're estimating right now to have a minimum of $1.93 million, and we hope to go ahead and exceed that and then really start building on that when we get into strategic planning in the spring of this coming year.
Is it getting to be more difficult for nonprofits to get funding?
Yes and no. Workplace giving has changed. What United Way is having to do is find other sources of funding, whether it's grant writing or looking to larger individual gifts. But the campaign is still far and away our largest source of funds, and it enables employees and individuals from across the region to give $1, 50 cents, $10 a pay period, and it adds up to this large total that really benefits our community.
And a number of organizations receive United Way funding. tell us approximately how many and what those focus areas are where you're really trying to direct those resources?
Sure. We funded in the last cycle 30 different organizations, 50 different programs, and the areas are in income, health, basic needs, and education. For example, we funded the Boy Scouts, we've funded Salvation Army, CHUM is a wonderful group here, and Community Action Duluth, and 26 others. So,
How does the board determine who gets philanthropic help from the United Way?
how does the board determine?
Yeah.
Well, it's really a community process. Once we've raised the funds, usually an RFP is sent out. We invite groups to apply, and then the community and these panels have decided who would receive funds. And we've really looked to those 4 areas that I mentioned. And we do have some goals on hoping that we improve certain things in educational areas or education gap. But a really big thing here has been basic needs. The poverty level is very high. And so the need for those services is very high as well.
So does the list of organizations or agencies that receive United Way funding, does that list change from year to year, or is it a pretty stable group that you work with?
Both. I think it's a pretty stable group. What we like to do is give some stable funding to people. And if we're changing all the time, that really disadvantages groups. And you don't want to all of a sudden pull a large amount of funding and have a group really struggle. So we do transition funding where we might scale down funding but over time. But you'll notice that we do tend to have the same groups that are funded. Those needs have stayed pretty consistently the same through the years.
You're trying to raise $2 million plus. What kind of an impact does that have on the community?
Well, I mean, I'll give you one example. We fund the Damiano Center, and they, I believe it was just lunches alone, gave 125,000 meals last year. So by us giving funding to that organization and enabling them to do more feeding, more outreach to the community is really valuable, and that's just one story out of 50.
Is it more effective, in terms of people's giving dollars to go through the United Way, or what make the case for somebody to give to the United Way versus picking out one of those organizations and giving to them directly?
Sure. We are able to, we vet organizations. It sounds like a weird way to say it, but when you're giving to United Way, you can be sure that this group and this organization or this project that's being supported is a strong project. You could give directly to the organizations, and absolutely, please do. These organizations need more help than just we're only a portion of their budget. We're not all of their budget on revenues. So you can give either way, but the benefits are we're pooling these funds, and these large amounts of funds can make a huge difference when they're focused in certain areas.
What kind of a timetable do you give yourself to raise these funds?
Well, the campaign kicked off last night, and it typically runs through the autumn. That's the main part of the campaign. And then throughout the rest of that year and the next year, those pledges are fulfilled primarily through payroll tax, pre-tax deduction.
And you're out busy meeting business people these days?
Absolutely.
What's your schedule like these days?
It's been primarily relationship building. And I've been out meeting with our agency directors, a lot of partners in the community, other United Way heads, business leaders, and interviews on shows like this to really get the word out and raise awareness that United Way, we're doing our thing again.
Matt Hunter, United Way. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The high-quality music of the Duluth Superior Symphony Orchestra is right around the corner, with the first concert coming up on September 20th. The DSSO's 83rd season has been dubbed Nordic Life, a celebration of everything that makes the Northland special. This time around, expect to hear some of the classics along with pops, opera, and a season-ending program with a new commission dedicated to rebels and innovators. Joining us now for a conductor's tour of the season is Maestro Dirk Meyer, the DSSO music director. And welcome, Dirk. Good to have you here again.
Thanks for having me again. Great to be here.
Nordic Life, the theme for this season. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means to feature everything that's so special about our Nordic life up here in Duluth on the lake. And so we thought it would be really fun to draw on all the resources that we have in our community. There's so much going on the cultural level here that we really wanted to feature that in our Nordic season. And so the result of that was a season of collaborations, if you want. So throughout the entire season, we have different collaborations with arts organizations, but also at least one collaboration with a not really art organization, it's a photo agency, and we'll put on a concert in collaboration with them, but they're based here in Duluth, so they are part of our Nordic life.
And that's going to be a runway show, I understand.
It will be a runway show. It'll be a first ever. This company is called Runway Manhattan, and they're based here in Duluth, and they produce fashion photography. Oh. And so the idea behind this concert is that they are producing all this content at those 4 fashion weeks that happen in February of 2015, New York, Milan, Paris, and London. And then just a few weeks later, they will show the Duluth audiences the latest fashion trends from those 4 weeks, and we will play music at the same time, and ultimately the show culminates in a live fashion show with the orchestra playing.
Dirk, what does it take to get ready for a new season? I mean, it's more than just you stepping up on the box and directing.
Yes. Oh, yeah. There's a lot more to that. Actually, right now already, I'm programming and I'm thinking about the season 15-16, so about a year and a half ahead, because there is so much involved in it. You have to make all these different programs, and you have to find venues. Well, at least sometimes you have to find venues. We often perform at the deck, of course. And you have to just, to create a coherent season is a very long process. And for me personally, I write programs, and then my first draft of the season will never be the final draft.
So you're really juggling a lot of different things at one time here.
Very much so, very much so. Yeah, there's a lot of different factors that go into creating the entire season.
I'm interested in some of those collaborations because in addition to the runway show, you're going to have NASA photography at one, you'll have an opera, you'll have ballet, and I'm wondering if in today's world and the way people have really high expectations of entertainment, is it just not enough to have symphony anymore? You kind of have to bring in these other things to draw the young people in? Or
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
It's always enough to have just the music. And we actually have several concerts this season as well where there's just the music if you want. But the music is always the centerpiece. And when the ballet comes in, obviously it's a visual aspect that comes in there as well, and an aesthetic, a different aesthetic comes in, and I think that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it appealing to me, that we have this wonderful music and then we bring in a different aesthetic. And for example, those NASA pictures that we will be showing during the planets in October, it just enhances your experience, and it takes your imagination to yet another different realm.
What can you tell us about the caliber of musicians found in the Duluth Superior area?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, I've been fortunate now to be the music director of the DSSO since 1 year. And so we've had many shows together, many concerts together, and they're just fantastic. They're so much fun to work with. And really the quality of the musicians we have here, and also from our musicians that come from the cities, we have many that drive up for our concerts, is just amazing. We're really blessed with this.
Are there tryouts?
Yeah, we have auditions, pretty much every year, depending on what positions we need to fill, and they're quite. It's a rigorous process for these musicians to come to join.
Are most of the musicians who play with the Duluth Superior Symphony Orchestra full-time musicians, or are they professional or hobbyists, or
Yes,
is there a whole range?
They're all professional musicians, absolutely, and a lot of them, for example, teach at our universities, at UMD or at UWS. Some teach down in the cities, and some play with other orchestras throughout the entire region. So, yeah, they're all professional musicians. Some of them might have other daytime jobs, but they all went to school for their instrument, yeah.
And how much community support have you found here in Duluth? Has it been surprising to you at all how well the community embraces the orchestra?
Yeah, it's been really a wonderful past year, and I'm very much looking forward to see what happens in the future as well. So far, I've really I've personally encountered a lot of goodwill and a lot of welcoming people, and also towards the DSSO as an organization. We have wonderful support, and we count on it, and we rely on it.
There is a youth orchestra. Are these budding musicians?
Well, we hope so.
You hope so.
Some of them certainly are. You know, I've conducted youth orchestras for many years, and now that I've been away for a couple of years, I actually know several of my students who have become professional musicians, and that's always the case. Not every kid in the youth orchestra will go on and do something with it, but I do think even if they don't, it's a very valuable lesson they learn, and it's a very valuable education, and just something that they can carry with them throughout their entire life.
Now we're just about out of time, but the first concert's coming up September 20th, Rhapsodies.
Yes.
Give us just a cliff notes on that.
In the nutshell, it's called Rhapsodies because there's two Rhapsodies on the program. The Rhapsody on the theme of Paganini by Rachmaninoff, one of his great pieces, and then the Gershwin Rhapsody in Blue. John Novacek is our pianist for those. And then we end the program again, Rachmaninoff, the symphonic dances, fantastic work, and I think a very upbeat and positive opener for the season.
And tickets still available to people?
Yeah, but they should hurry up. Yeah, DSSO.com.
Yeah.
All right, Dirk Meyer, thank you so much for coming in. Good
Thank
luck
you
with
so
the
much.
season. It sounds terrific.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
you again, Dirk. Thank you.
Likewise, thank you.
Next Friday, September 19th, the Center Against Sexual and Domestic Abuse, or CASDA, will hold its annual Walk Run to End Abuse in Superior. The 13th annual event raises awareness and funding for CASDA's services to victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse. CASDA assisted more than 400 clients last year and received more than 2,000 calls for help and referral. Here to tell us more is Jill Hinners, the Community Engagement Coordinator for CASDA, and Amber Popplewell is a shelter case manager at CASDA. And welcome. Thanks for coming in tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Jill, there have been some very high-profile cases of domestic abuse in the media in the past week. Does that kind of publicity help to raise awareness of the problems that your organization faces every day?
It certainly does. It's certainly bittersweet when these stories come out at the national level, because as much as it's terrible to hear that these incidents have occurred, it does put the issue that we addressed into the spotlight, and we only hope that at the local level people realize that it's happening here too, right in the Twin Ports, and there are ways to take a stand against domestic violence and become engaged at the local level.
Amber, how do domestic abuse victims contact you, and what do you do with it once you've been contacted?
Well, I would say primarily they are contacting us through our crisis line, and like you guys said, we answered over 2,000 calls last year. We do have individuals who can reach out to us via the internet, through our website, and we also have an IRP, immediate response program, that we have implemented with the Superior Police Department in order to contact victims immediately after a domestic violence incident. So there's a range that victims can contact us, and then we can try and work with them from there to see how we can help them further.
Do you think people would be surprised at how prevalent abuse actually is right here in our community?
I think so, and I don't even know that it's possible to know the extent of the problem, because it's still a hidden issue in many families. Learned behavior from generation to generation, something that happens behind closed doors, where for the people behind those doors, it might be normal for them too. So sometimes I think even among the people that are living it, they're not necessarily coming forward and asking for help. Would you add to that?
Well, and I think that even regardless of being a victim, it's difficult for any individual to have the discussion about domestic violence and sexual assault, including child abuse. So you can imagine how hard it is to come forward to seek help.
You brought up a good point. Apparently it is generational, or can be.
Yeah, very much. It is something that we definitely see at CASDA, and I know our executive director has been with CASDA long enough to see family members, descendants from original clients coming through the doors, and I know that's very difficult to see, but it certainly it does certainly confirm that this is an issue that is hard to eradicate in a single family.
If somebody needs immediate safety assistance, how do you work with them?
Well, I mean, if they contacted us through our crisis line, say, and they were looking for shelter, we would go through a screening process with them, try and understand maybe where they're coming from, where they are, and how we can get them into shelter, and then going from there. We do provide shelter, emergency shelter, to women and children seeking refuge, whether it's domestic violence, sexual assault, or child abuse, as well as sex trafficking victims.
Are there some early warning signs that you could share with people who are in a relationship that could potentially become abusive? Things that people should look for, be concerned about if the relationship is heading in that direction?
I think as an agency, I mean, we're really lucky that we pull information from the Power and Control Wheel, which was created here in Duluth by DAIP. So, I mean, we really use that every day, and that's something that can be this aha moment for victims. And if they do see something like control behaviors and checking in with me, and, you know, where are you spending money, and I don't like you hanging out with that individual, or trying to alienate somebody from their family and isolate them from friends and resources, really keeps them under wraps. And then people wonder, why does she stay? Well, when you have completely gotten rid of the support system and you've made somebody solely dependent on you, it's a lot easier to control and manipulate their lives.
You have an upcoming walk to help end abuse. Can you tell us a little bit about that, when it is, what you hope to gain through that?
Absolutely. Well, this is our 13th annual Walk Run to End Abuse. We're changing things up a little bit this year, and we're excited about the changes. It's always been a family-friendly event, but this year we're hoping it's an event that an entire family can really participate in together. We've moved it to a Friday night, so it's a week from tonight, Friday the 19th, starting at 4:30 p.m. on Barker's Island. It will include a kids run for the first time, a mile run, as well as a meal afterwards, complimentary for all participating runners and walkers, provided by Grizzlies. So we're really excited to shake things up and have it be an even more fun way for the community and families to come support
right.
our mission.
You mentioned that kids are going to be running, and Amber, your daughter Kennedy, is going to be among them. Kennedy, are you excited about this?
Yes.
Now, will you be walking or running, or what's your plan?
I'll be running.
You're a pretty fast runner? And is your whole family going to be participating?
Yep, we will. We all be there, and whether or not I'm volunteering as a staff member, and Kennedy will participate as a runner.
Good.
All right, and quick, give the information if people want to show up. Where is it? When is it?
Yep, and they can register on the spot. So it's a week from tonight, Friday, September 19th, out on Barker's Island. Registration takes place at the Charter Fishing Dock, which is the parking lot that you come to right before the Barker's
what
Island
time?
Inn. So 4:30, that's when registration starts. So we hope to have a great turnout. The weather forecast is iffy. It keeps changing from day to day, but I would encourage people to come because no matter what the weather, domestic violence is not going away, and we need your support. And we are from northern Wisconsin and Minnesota. We can bundle up and face it, whatever the weather brings.
All right, Kennedy, I want to look at the website and see that you took first place in that race, okay? So you have to run fast. All right? Thanks so much for coming in, ladies and Kennedy. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
It's time for the week's business headlines from Business North. In the past 9 years, sales have nearly tripled for Duluth-based retailer Maurice's, with much of that growth fueled by reinvestment by its parent firm, Ascena Retail Group. That message was shared with UMD students Tuesday at the Leibovitz School of Business and Economics' Fall Distinguished Speaker Lecture. Maurice's president, George Goldfarb, said Ascena was willing to invest for the long haul, which has helped sales to reach $1 billion this year.
Cliffs Natural Resources is closing its downtown Duluth office as the taconite producer's latest effort to cut costs. There already had been a 40% staff reduction at Cliffs Duluth office during the past year. Most of the 31 remaining local employees will be transferred to area Cliffs mines or can relocate to the company's Cleveland headquarters. Cliffs and other taconite companies are struggling with lower steel demand in China and Europe.
Wisconsin villages like Cornucopia, Herbster, Iron River, Drummond, Cable, and Mason now have access to broadband internet service. The last hookup was made recently at Madeline Island by Norvato Communications, which was assisted by $34 million in loans through the federal government's 2009 economic stimulus package. The advancement provides service that's nearly 100 times faster than before. Area officials say fiber cable opens up vast new opportunities for home-based rural businesses. For more business and economic news, visit businessnorth.com.
If you have a comment about our show, call now. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message or send your comments in an email to almanacnorth@wdse.org. And you can visit the WDSE website for updates about the station, check the program schedule for our 4 digital channels, or watch clips of your favorite programs. And Denny, are you ready for another 23 years on Almanac North?
You realize, of course, I'll be 93 years old.
I think you'll still be here, and I probably will too.
I'm not counting on it.
For Denny and the crew here at Almanac North, I'm Julie Zenner. Have a great weekend.